Myself, Dr. Pryuttma from GMRD College, Mohanpur, Samastipur, which comes under Lalit Narayan Mithila University, Darbhanga. Today I am going to teach you Ascaris Lumbricoides of B.Sc. Zoology, paper 1, group A, Animal Diversity. Ascaris Lumbricoid, which comes under phylum Nematoda. Nematoda means, nema means thread, and toda means like. That's why the animals coming under Nematoda phylum are thread like. Order Ascaroidea, genus Ascaris, genus Ascaris, species Lumbricoides. Ascaris Lumbricoides are also known as roundworm. First of all, talking about distribution of this organism. Where does it can be found? It is cosmopolitan. Cosmopolitan means it can be present anywhere in this whole world. We can find this organism in China, India, Korea, Philippines, America, everywhere. It is an endoparasite. Endoparasite means it lives inside the host animal. Like its host can be men, pigs, cattle, sheep, even squirrels. Generally, it occurs in children who don't wash their hands and eat food. Now coming to the morphology of Ascaris. It is elongated in shape. You can see this organism. It is elongated. It is cylindrical in shape. Cylindrical means cylinder-like. Gradually tapering at both the ends. You can see tapering at both the ends. But anterior end being more cylindrical than posterior. Why it is like this? Because on the anterior end, mouth is present. Along with mouth, it is bounded with lips. There are 3 lips present in the mouth. Sexes separate, means male and female organisms are separate. So it can be said as dioecious. Dioecious means sex organ are present in different organisms, male and female organism. Here we can come to know that male is slightly shorter in length than female. Male is just 15 to 30 centimeter long, matured male, while females are 20 to 40 centimeter long, means it is longer than male. The diameter varies from 4 to 6 mm. See this diagram. This is the diagram of a female Ascaris. It is the anterior portion of Ascaris, female Ascaris. This is mouth bounded by lips. In the lips only, papilla are present. Papilla is present, which is the organ for sensation. Lips also helps in the attachment of Ascaris to the small intestine of the host. Mostly it occurs in human beings. Then only after 2 centimeters from mouth, excretory pore is present in both male and female organism. Then 1/3 portion, 1/3 half of the body contains has female gonopore which helps in the copulation during fertilization. Then last portion is the tail. Here only anus is present. Near tail region. This is the diagram of female Ascaris. Now
this is the diagram of male Ascaris. The anterior portion is slightly broader than the posterior portion, and we can see that in the tail region it is curved, slightly curved in the tail region. This is the diagram of male Ascaris. In males, anus is replaced by a cloaca. This is cloacal aperture. Cloaca is common aperture for digestive as well as genital tubes. Sometimes two cutaneous spicules of the spicules processes of equal size are seen protruding out of the cloacal aperture. These are called penile spicules. This is the penile spicule, which serves to transfer sperms into the female vagina during copulation. Part of caudal end behind anus or cloacal aperture may be called the tail. Now coming to the reproductive system of Ascaris. First of all, we will study about the male reproductive system of Ascaris. This is the diagram. This is the diagram of male Ascaris. This is lips, mouth, this is pharynx, intestine. In male and female, this portion will be same, but the reproductive system will be different. Male will be having this male reproductive system, while female will be having female reproductive system. This is the diagram of male reproductive system in Ascaris. See, this is the testis. This is the testis, which have too many convolutions. This is the testis where sperm is formed. This is the diagram of, this is the portion of vas deferens. And after that, this is the seminal vesicle where semen is collected along with sperms. and here the portion is cloaca. The same for genital as well as for digestive waste to come out. Perineal specule is present in the perineal sac. Then now coming to the female reproductive system. This is the diagram of female reproductive system of Ascaris. Here we can see this is the gonopore, from where the Ascaris, female Ascaris is being inseminated. This is the vagina. Uterus is common for both the ovaries, uterus. Then this is the portion of ovary. This is the portion of ovary. There are 2 ovaries in one Ascaris. This is the diagram of TS of testis. This testis is the male organ of Ascaris. This is the intestine, and this one is the seminal vesicle, where semen is getting collected and stored. This is the testis, which contains amoeboid sperms. This is the diagram of sperm. It is amoeboid sperm. This is the diagram of TS of female organ of Ascaris. This is the TS, transverse section of female reproductive organ. This is the intestine. This is uterus, which contains eggs. Ovary is the ovary.
Now talking about the life cycle of Ascaris. Till now we come to know that Ascaris is a disease, we can say that hand to mouth disease, because it enters into our body through our uncontaminated hand from fruits, vegetables which are not washed properly, or we can these eggs of Ascaris can enter into our body through contaminated water polluted by the eggs of Ascaris. Ascaris eggs are of 2 types: fertilized eggs and unfertilized eggs. Fertilized eggs give rise to new Ascaris. Then coming to the life cycle of the Ascaris in detail. Fertilized eggs. It cannot, when the eggs come to the environment through fecal matter or the stool of human beings into the soil.
Fertilized eggs develops into first stage juvenile. Length is 0.2 to 0.3 mm in 9 days outside the body of human in the soil. Development takes place in the first stage larva of the first stage larva is outside the body of the host because it requires a lower temperature, sufficient oxygen and moisture. Large concentrations of carbon dioxide in the large intestine of the host inhibit hatching. So further development does not occur in the human intestine. It can only, the first stage larva can be formed outside the body. The movement, these conditions are available. Segmentation begins and produces a small 0.2 to 0.3 mm long first juvenile stage or rhabditiform larva in about 9 days. It takes 9 days. This is the important question for multiple choice question in examination. You must remember this. Only one stage larva, that is rhabditiform larva, the development takes place in 9 days. The first stage juvenile continues to grow for another 10 days, then molds into second stage larva. This is the first stage juvenile which takes place in 9 days. It requires 9 days to mold. Then the first stage larva gives rise to second stage larva in 10 days after juvenile molts into second stage within the egg. Second stage larva also molts only outside the body. Eggs with second stage juveniles are infective and can remain so for years at low temperature. Years, 7 years, 8 years means unlimited years it can remain in the dormant stage, and when it is consumed by any organism like human, dog, cattle, squirrels, then only the next stage larva will be formed. Here no intermediate host is required. Transmission is direct. We all know that. Here only one host is required. It can be human, cattle, dog, cat, or a squirrel. Further development requires higher temperature, which is made available when the eggs are swallowed by a warm-blooded vertebrates. That is man. Infection is direct. This eggs, then second stage juvenile, when it is swallowed by the man, further development will take place. Infection is directly through the vegetable or food. Human soil is quite often used as manure in the fields and farms. Soil contaminated with eggs of Ascaris is the easy source of infection. Eggs many eggs remain over the roots, leaves, flowers, fruits, and leaves. House flies can pick up eggs from the human soil and drop them over the cooked food. Juveniles are set free in the intestine of the man. Here, the second stage, juveniles are set free in the man or host's intestine. The egg cell is dissolved. Here in the intestine, the egg cell is dissolved. The free second stage juvenile of 0.2 to 0.3 mm long with a cylindrical oesophagus and enlarged into cardiac chamber and a long intestine. Immediately, this bores through the intestinal wall and returns after taking a tour through the parts of the body, during which they grow and mold. From intestine to bloodstream of the human body, it enters. Soon after boring the wall of a small intestine of human, the second stage juveniles pass into mesenteric venules. That is, mesenteric means what? Intestinal venules. And hence into the hepatic portal vein through liver. It enters into the liver through hepatic portal vein. Inferior vena cava takes the juvenile from the liver into the right auricle of the heart. Next they comes into the right ventricle. From where they enters through the pulmonary aorta. They reach the lungs. It takes 3 days for the juveniles to journey up to the liver and another 3 days to reach the lungs. Growth continues and the juveniles becomes large. Enough to cause damage to the capillaries of the lungs. From the damaged capillaries, the juveniles are set free into the lung alveoli. Here the second molt takes place into the third stage juvenile after 5 days. It takes 5 days to molt. From this stage, the third mound is in the lung alveolus after 6 days. From The third month is in the lung alveolus after 6 days. Fourth stage juveniles. Then it molds into the fourth stage juvenile in the lungs itself. Then from lungs, the juveniles rises to bronchi. From bronchi, it enters into the trachea. It enters into the trachea. From trachea, it enters into the larynx. From larynx, two things can happen. One, from larynx it can enter into the nasopharynx, and from nasopharynx it can come out through the nostril, or from larynx it can enter into the oesophagus, which is also known as food pipe. From food pipe, it gets swallowed down into the stomach. It gets swallowed down the stomach. From stomach, it enters into the man's intestine, where the size of juvenile is 2 to 3 mm. Here the fourth stage, larva, is formed. It takes approximately 9 days to reach from bronchi of lungs to enter into the intestine of the human. After this, in the men's intestine, the Ascaris, means juvenile worm of Ascaris, bores through the intestine with its mouth and lips. It gets attached to the intestine, and from here its size increases and becomes mature in 2.5 months. We can say 6 to 10 weeks. In 6 to 10 weeks, it becomes sexually matured to form eggs. If in the same intestine two worms, male and female, are present, then only the fertilization can happen. Otherwise, the unfertilized eggs will come out from the body of the human through the stool, and the if two, male and female, as we know that Ascaris is a dioecious organism, it needs two different male and female organisms to give rise to fertilized eggs. Fertilized eggs are liberated from the body through the stool, and further development occurs in the soil. After getting favorable condition, the larva inside the egg molds into first stage juveniles, and in the same way the process continues. Now, pathogenicity of Ascaris. Disease caused by Ascaris is commonly called Ascariasis. This is important question for your examination. Which disease is caused by Ascaris? The answer is Ascariasis. Is the disease caused by Ascaris. Lumbricoides. Larva proves more injurious than adult worms by causing hemorrhage, means blockage. In either it can block the bloodstream, or if it is more in numbers in bronchi, then it can block the respiratory system. A few worms do not affect the health of the host much, but when several hundreds or even several thousands of them are there, they naturally causes serious troubles such as mechanical blockage of the intestine, bile duct, or pancreatic duct. Physiologically, they share the food of the host, who becomes weak and anemic. Toxins produced by the worms at the harmful effect, causing irritation of the mucous membrane.
Means how the measures taken to avoid Ascaris. Avoid eating unwashed raw vegetables and fruits. Wash vegetables and fruits thoroughly and cook well. Protect food from dirt and soil. Use of clean toilet facilities. Dispose excreta safely. Wash hands before every meal. And lastly, we must educate high risk groups such as school age children, women, and special occupation groups about sanitation and hygiene. And measures and how the medicines taken if someone is having Ascaris. Medicines is albendazole, memendazole, etc. Thank you. You can also get these notes of Ascaris lumbricoides from our college website gmrdcollege.org. Thank you very much.